talk. So we talk about how to build cross-platform application using Flutter. And this is an agenda of today's talk. We discuss what is Flutter, and we talk also about widgets and discuss basic widgets for building layout and basically widgets that you need in every application. Also, we talk about Flutter resources and where you can start to learn Flutter. And afterwards, we'll have a look at how to build a simple recipe UI. So if you have time now, you can clone project because it's published in repository on GitHub, and you can start the project and see what you'll need to build, or you can have a look at the UI and try to build it from scratch by yourself. Let's see. So what is Flutter? Flutter is Google UI toolkit for building beautiful, natively compiled application for mobile, web, and desktop. And Flutter is free and open source. And a lot of companies are using Flutter today. Some examples are Toyota or BW or Stadia. Stadia, it's Google game streaming platform, and they also use Flutter. Another good example is Rive. It's a web tool that helps you to create beautiful animations that you can use in Flutter afterwards. And there's also some banking app. There are a lot of examples, many more, and you can go to official documentation, flutter.dev showcase, and see what else can be built with Flutter and different UIs that are already done. Let's continue. So how Flutter is different? If you develop app natively, for example, in Android platform or iOS, app talks to the platform to display OEM-specific widgets. OEM-specific widgets, it's widgets that are provided by a manufacturer. And this architecture restricts to reuse widgets on different platforms. And Flutter is different. Flutter draws its widget by itself. And what it needs from the platform is canvas to show widgets. It also needs some services to be able to use location services and other and events such as tap event. And in Flutter, everything is a widget. A stylistic element like fonts and buttons, and even the whole application is a widget. Everything. If you need to make some indent and use padding, it's also a widget. Everything. And this is a structure of Flutter framework. Everything in green can be changed or modified by developer. For example, developer can add new animation or change animation, add new gesture, and Flutter framework comes with some basic widgets that can be used in different apps because they look good for every app, and it comes also with some pre-made material design widgets for that follow material design style guides, and also with Cupertino widgets. They look more like for iOS, and many more. So how to learn widgets? First of all, you should check official documentation, flutter.dev, and they have a widget catalog that provides a list of different widgets and that come with Flutter framework. And you can have a look at some basic widgets and buttons and layouts, or how to use the images, icons, try out different animations, etc. And now let's discuss about some basic widgets that you'll need to build basically every app, and they're going to be used in app layouts that we are going to build in the end. So first widget, it's a scaffold. Scaffold provides for us material design layout structure, and basically if you have, for for example, mobile app, and you need to show application bar and bottom sheet or floating action buttons, etc., you definitely should use scaffold, because you don't need to build app bars and other widgets. You can just specify what you'd like to have, and it will be on the screen, and it will look good already. So another widget is app bar, and this is material design widget, and this application bar has title and has here button and here buttons, and if you build it with Flutter, button, this is icon button that is before title is called leading, and buttons that are behind title are called actions. And what you just need to do to specify what buttons where you'd like to have, and they'll be for you here. And these icons that you see here, they also come, most of them, with Flutter framework, and you don't need to use any extra tools. Flutter provides some basic icons for you. And every application has text, and to show it in the app, you can use text widget, where you provide text that you'd like to display, and text widget is also customizable. You can change styles, fonts, and size of the text, and you can align your text in a different way. Another most used widget is image, and you can display images from assets. Assets, it's folder that you have in your project from network, from file, or from memory. And so different images can be displayed. If you have icons, images, text, etc., all of the stuff you need to lay out somehow. For example, put one after another vertically or horizontally, or one above another. And if you'd like to lay out your widgets horizontally, you can use row widget, and widgets such as text or image or icon and other will be placed one after another. If you'd like to display your widgets vertically, you can use column widget, and they'll be placed one after another vertically. And if you'd like to show widgets one above another, you can use stack widgets. And so how to learn widgets? As I mentioned before, you can always have a look at widget catalog, because they have beautiful visuals that you can use to see different widgets, different buttons that you can use. And another option is to have a look at Flutter Gallery app. This app is open source, and it contains different examples of material widgets, Cupertino widgets, and it has also some samples of application. For example, Shrine, it's fashionable retail app, and it has beautiful UI, nice animations, and code is open sourced, and you can just go and copy paste it, basically. So, and if you need to build something complex, I also recommend to check Flutter Awesome website, or you can go to GitHub page Awesome Flutter, because it also provides different examples. You can find different apps here, how to with different buttons, where's the app, shopping, movie, and a lot of stuff is here already, and it's also open source. Or if you need to find some components, some widgets that you need to build, probably it's already done. What you need is just to apply it in your project. If you develop apps using Flutter, for example, for mobile, for Android and iOS, and for web, they still look differently if you even though you have the same code. It's reached the difference is reached in scrolling, navigation, fonts, and many more. Here you see screenshots. One app is a Android screenshot and another one is iOS. And here in scrolling you see this shadow. It's common for Android apps, and if you have a look at iOS, it has some bouncing physics. It's something very common for iOS, and this comes on default. You don't need to implement it by yourself. But yes, it can be changed and you can also modify it. Flutter uses Dart language because Dart ahead of time compiled in native code when you release your application, and during development, Flutter uses just-in-time compilation. Dart is also high performant and does object allocation and garbage collection without logs. It's also open source and was created by Google. So how they reach the object allocation and garbage collection without logs and different features, you can have a look at this article. It was written by someone from Google team, where they explain it very well. Flutter works well with different tools and platforms, for example, Firebase and with material design, and there are a lot of plugins and packages that are developed by community and by Google team, and it's very well integrated with different platforms. If you'd like to create applications, you can use Android Studio, VS Code, or IntelliJ IDEA. So my preference is VS Code, but if you use Android Studio or IntelliJ IDEA, you can use Wizard to create Flutter application. You just click buttons and Flutter application will be created for you. Another way to create Flutter application is to use Flutter Create command in console and name of your project, and default and project will be created for you. Actually, it has more parameters, and you can have a look at documentation, or for example, you can specify what language should be used in your Android app, etc. if you work on some platform-specific features. So once project is created, this is a structure of project. You have different folders here. So basically, all your Flutter and Dart development happens in lib folder. So all your code is going to be here. But if you need to implement some platform-specific code, for example, to access some services on Android platform or iOS platform, for example, location service. So then you need to implement your code in Android folder or iOS because it's just specific to this platform. And there is also a web folder for web if you need to implement something web specific, and Windows. So, and there is also build folder where you can, if you make build of your application, it's going to be here. And there is one more folder, tests, it for writing tests in your application. And Flutter also provide very nice development tools to have a very fast development cycle. Let's have a look. So most popular, I think, it's a hot reload. Flutter uses just-in-time compilation during development. It means that the code compiled on the run, and so if you make any changes in your app, they'll be visible immediately on the UI. You don't need to compile your application again and start it. You just save changes and it's going to be here. Flutter Inspector allows you to analyze your layout and find bugs in your widget trees. And also, if there is the select widget button where you click and pick your widget, and you'll see it immediately where it's in widget tree. It's very powerful tool for analyzing your widget tree. It's very important when you develop any application to make sure that your code is correct and without some bugs. For this, Flutter provides for you a style guide that you can follow. Therefore, every project has analysis options YAML file where it's configured. And if you make, for example, some typos, so IDE will highlight it to you, and you can see what's wrong before execution any single line of code. You can have a look at the effective Dart in the link provided here. It's official documentation. You can use a default style guide that comes with project when you create, or you can change and modify it to have more strict rules. There are more Dart tools for debugging, for analyzing performance, etc. And we won't talk a lot about it, but it's here for you as well, and you can check it out when you have time. So how to start development using Flutter? First, your place where you start is official documentation, because it provides plenty of resources how to get started, and widget catalog, as I've mentioned, with what you can build. There is also cookbook. So if you need to implement something, it provides some solutions for you if you need to fix something or to implement some new feature. It might be also already here. And there are a lot of samples and videos how to use Flutter. Another very good source, it's Google Developers Code Labs, where you can filter Flutter framework, and it has some simple and basic code labs. It also has some advanced code labs, or even how to use Flutter, for example, with Firebase, or how to integrate payments in your application. It's a very good source to learn Flutter and other technologies, and step by step with good explanation. And if you don't want to install Flutter and still would like to try it out, you can use Dartpad. .dev, it's a web tool where you can build simple UI, or just code something in Dart or in Flutter. You just need to create project and specify whether you'd like to have Dart or Flutter. And what I also like, it has samples folder where you can pick samples drop down, where you can pick different examples, and some of them are very great with animation. It's a very good source to play around. And Flutter also has YouTube channel, and with widget of the week, where you can learn in 1-2 minutes different widgets, with boring show and many more. And you can also join different meetups. And because of pandemic, most of events are online. So in Switzerland, where I am based, there is a Flutter Zurich meetup. Feel free to join. Meetups are also online. And let's build a simple layout today. It's a recipe app layout, and you need to go to to GitHub and clone this project, or you can just create a empty project and try to build it. Try to create it by yourself with knowledge that you've got from this presentation. So we are going to build a recipe screen. It's just a simple static screen. It doesn't do any actions, but it's a beginner talk. And when you see some UI that you need to build, first of all, you need to analyze it, what it has. Here you see that it has application bar with some icon button, and afterwards it has image. Then it has a row which contains text, and also it contains some icon button to add to favorites. Then it has another row, and it has icon and text again. So you should notice that it's repeated here, and afterwards some recipe lorem ipsum text. And now let's move to the, my preference is VS Code, and let's move to VS Code and see how you would implement it. So as I mentioned, so this is a structure of the project. It has Android folder for some, if I need to implement some Android specific features, but we won't need it. It has images folder. I've added this folder to add my image here. And it has iOS folder. If you need to write code something iOS specific, lib folder, it's what we need today to create this layout. Also test folder, web folder, Windows, and as I mentioned, analysis options YAML to write good code. And let's begin. So every Flutter application has a main method, and it's an entry point for Flutter application. And here there is run app method, which runs my app. And what is my app? My app is a widget, and it's a stateless widget. And what is stateless widget? Stateless widget is a class that extends stateless widget, and it has build method, which also returns a widget. Everything in Flutter is a widget. And because we have application bar, and so we are going to use some material design components, we are going to build material app. Therefore, we specify that we use material app widget. This widget allows us to configure some settings for our material app. For example, we can specify theming and many more. Flutter is open source, and if you are curious what's inside of this widget, you can always go inside and see other parameters that it has. And but the most important in material app for us that it has a home parameter where we are going to specify our layout that we are going to build today. And we are going to build my home page. And my home page again is a stateless widget. So if you are building widgets by yourself, and so it's tedious to type class and then extend stateless widget and override build method, you can use shortcut. If you type STL, it shows that you can create stateless widget, and here you can create any widgets that you like, and it's already created for you, and you don't need to waste your time just type in class, extends, and build method, etc. So let's continue. And our my home page has build method, which returns a scaffold widget. Scaffold provides for us some material design layout structure, and we need this to create layout because we don't want to build a bar by ourselves. Therefore, we use scaffold, and you can also go inside and see what else you can use here, what else you can choose. For example, here up bar or floating action button, and bottom sheet, and different stuff that you can just specify here, and it will look nicely in your application. And our app bar, we just use this widget, has title recipe app. It's here. And afterwards, we have this button to share with friends, and its icon. Therefore, we need to use icon button, because this icon button is after recipe app title. We use actions here. If we'll need button here, we will use leading parameter. but because it's after title, we need actions. We use icon button to show this share button. Let me change some to have more place to display code. And icon button has some required parameters such as icon that we need to specify, and we use icon share. And on pressed callback, it's a handler what happens when user presses this button. Right now we do nothing. We just print message in console. Let's move here and discuss this line. We have icon share here, and this icon comes with Flutter framework, and Flutter provides some icons for us that we can use in our application. And if you press dot and you move here, you even have some visual how this icon looks like, or you can go to official documentation and have the whole list of the icons. Let's continue. So we've created a bar and it's here. Now we need to create a body of our application. Here you see that our widgets placed one after another, and you might think that we need column, as I've mentioned in presentation, if we need to place our object vertically. But we need to, but you can see that here we have text and not enough space to make text visible, and we'd like to have our UI scrollable to be able to see the whole text. Therefore, we use list view widget. And list view widget has a children parameter where we can specify other widgets that we'd like to put inside of our scrollable section. So here we have image that we'd like to show, and I've already put it image in a folder. Therefore, I can use image asset. And if you'd like to add images in your project, it's not enough to create folder here and put your images that you'd like to show. You also need to add your image folder or another assets in pubspec YAML. It's a place where you specify all your dependencies. So these commands were auto-generated, and you can find it also explains how you should add your images and assets, etc. And I just uncommented these sections when I needed to add images. And also, if you'd like to use other packages, for example, random words generator, or packages or different plugins for accessing battery information of your device, etc., you put your dependencies in pubspec YAML. So it basically contains information about packages and plugins that your project uses. Let's continue with our image. And so our image is stored in assets. Therefore, we just specify a path to the image. Let's move to the next. We need to show a row with text and with icon here. And if items are placed horizontally one after another, it's probably row. And it's here. And our row has a children parameter where we specify widgets that we'd like to put inside. It's a text here, text widget, and it's also icon button. It has the same on pressed handler. What happens if we press on this button, and right now it just prints message in the console. And it also has icon parameter where we specify icons that we'd like to show, and it also comes with Flutter framework. And text widget where we display our recipe name. We use a style parameter to have custom font size, and we'd like also to have it bold. And I've used padding widget to add some indent here and from top and from the bottom, because it's not very nice when title comes exactly at the border of your app. So let's move to the next part that we need to build. And we are going to build this row where we show icon and text and icon and text. And you might see that it's repeated. We have icon, text, icon, text. And to not repeat ourselves, I've created a separate widget just to build this part, this icon and this text. And I've named this icon with text widget, and it's stateless widget. It displays just information. And as a parameter, this widget gets icons that I'd like to show, because they are different here, and also text that I'd like to display it. And it has built method that returns a row, because items follow one after another. And in our children parameter, I specify icon that I'd like to show here, and it comes in constructor. And text, I have added a size box. It's just a spacing between icon and text, because otherwise it will be too close and it won't look nice. And therefore I use a size box here. And afterwards I can reuse this widget whenever I want in my application. And one important information here: main axis size. If you won't use it, this row will take the whole width that you have on your screen. But I'd like to have it as minimum as possible. Just take as much place as you need to show your items. Therefore, I use main axis size parameter. Main axis size for row, it's this main axis size, it's a horizontal line, and I specify minimum that I'd like it to use as minimum as possible. Afterwards, I can reuse this widget in many places as I want. So I have row because it's a row which contains two rows basically. So first I specify here icons that I'd like to show, and text preparation 40 minutes, and again icon with text serving for 2 dashes, and Flutter dash also comes with Flutter framework, this nice dash icon. And I'd like to be my widgets that they are spaced evenly, and I can use main axis alignment parameter in a row and space them evenly in the row that they look also nicely. And here let's go back to row above. We use space between, because we'd like that we have as much space between as possible before two items. And let's move to the text. And to show text, we need to use text widget. And here we can just place text that you'd like to show. To make it nicer, I've added padding, because it's not very, it doesn't look good when text comes close to the border of screen. Therefore, I've added padding widget around text widget, where I've specified padding that I'd like to have. So we still have time, and probably I'll show you some features that I've mentioned in my presentation. So let's start with a style guide. And yeah, by the way, let's run application in Chrome to see whether it works. And afterwards, I show some features. Let's wait till the app starts and find a good place where I can show static analysis of your code that Flutter does for you. Okay, it takes a while. So if we remove const from here, you can see, now it's here. So it's app that we've created, and you can see that it's also responsive. If you change how, for example, if you change the size of the screen, it resizes as well. So it looks nice. So here I've removed the const from size box, and you can see that our code is highlighted because it recommends us that we prefer const with constant constructors, and it's a good practice to use const here with size box because if we have a lot of sized boxes in our apps that have width 5, it won't create a new instance for every size box that we have in the app. It just reuse one instance that was created before. It's an example how you how IDEA helps you to develop application, and how to open DevTools. In VS Code, I just use it to open. One moment, it takes some time. Let me show how it looks. Basically, not this one I wanted to show. Open. Unfortunately, it shows me only web-based. Okay, you can open DevTools. Let's see what we have here. It's DevTools for Flutter. This web-based tools, but you can also, sometimes it shows you how to open, suggests you to open Flutter Inspector, etc. And you can analyze your app size and do different stuff here. So here you need to connect to running app, and you basically get this address in debug console. It's here. When you add it to the screens that I've showed before, you'll see different tools that help you to analyze your application, do some debugging, analyze your layouts, etc. That's it for my presentation. Let's return. So if you have some questions, I'm open to answer them.
Thank you so much, Katerina, for this presentation. It was really nice to dive into Flutter, learn its key features and these basic layouts, and really seeing how it can be structured, the interface, several rows, and inserting images, spacing the various elements in a row. Really interesting. And how responsive it was. Very cool.
You're welcome.
So we can open the stage for questions. Sorry, go ahead.
This code is open source. You can clone it and play around and try different stuff. Probably change stateless widget to stateful and see what's the difference.
Do we have any questions about Flutter? Maybe if there are several frameworks to develop apps, why Flutter rather than others?
Before I was Android developer, and I've created an app and published it on Google Play. And afterwards, so I found a customer, a small language school in Switzerland, and they said that most of their users use iOS. And I thought, okay, I need to create iOS app, but I didn't want to learn new language and another platform, and I've moved to Flutter. So right now with Flutter, it's possible to create apps for Android, iOS, web, desktop, and I just need to learn Flutter. But to develop a beautiful UI, but it might be sometimes misleading. You might think, okay, I'll learn just Flutter, and I'll be able to create nice apps for Windows, web, or Android. But sometimes in production, you need to use features. For example, access some platform-specific features. And then you need to write platform-specific code, and you need to know Android or iOS or web or Windows to create it. But if your mobile application shows some information and you just click some buttons and it sends some information to the server or stores it in database, Flutter is good for this.
And maybe just one question. We probably have many students in their university stage, and at this point, for the future, in say a couple of years or maybe even less, will start their job. It could involve also mobile development. So if one wants to start mobile development, and in this workshop, no previous knowledge was required. So maybe there is also somebody in the audience that is interested but has no previous knowledge about this. How do you suggest to get started with Flutter to continue learning and maybe up to the point of publishing or developing an app with some basic functionalities or more advanced ones?
Um, I've started with Google Code Labs and some courses because I'd like to have information structured and to have this from reliable sources. I used a course on Udacity and also Google um, Code Labs, and I think it's a good place to learn Flutter. They have a different complexity for intermediate, for beginners, and some advanced courses, and they are very good. I highly recommend.
Great, thanks.
That's great, Katrina. We have a question in the comment section. It would be displayed on our screen. So, Jeff, could you read it?
Sure. Michele asks, do you have experience with integration of native SDKs? If so, what are, in your point of view, the main things to keep in mind?
Um, okay. I like Flutter that there are a lot of plugins that were created already, and if I need to use some feature, I go to pub.dev and look up for the plugin. And previously I was Android developer, and I have some experience in Android. And what we need to keep in mind when we basically develop the whole application, we need to know all features that we'd like to implement, and sometimes we need to know some peculiars of platform one of the examples is if you build app that needs to run in the background, and you know that Android kills apps. So if a user doesn't use app a lot, app might be killed by the operation system. And you need to think about how to do how to preserve state. It's good if you need to develop some native features. It's good to know how they work on different platforms, and I highly recommend, if you know that you need to access location, for example, or battery. It's some native features that will work differently on different platforms, and you need to know what your app is going to do with it. Does your app need to use this information in the background? What happens if the app is killed by operation system? I think my recommendation, if you need some native features, learn about how they work on platforms where you are going to run your app.
That's great. That was a descriptive answer. I have another question that is somehow similar to this question. We were recently working on application in which we need to access the native resources of the Android, let's say the microphone. So, do we have such liability in Flutter to interact with the hardware resources of the Android, or in that case, is the best choice is to go with the native application like native platforms or programming languages like Swift or for Android Kotlin? What do you think?
I think Flutter might be still a good choice, because Flutter community is very great, and they've created a lot of plugins and packages that are already available, and there are a lot of open source contributors. And so if you go to let me so if you go to let me show this screen for you. If you go to pubspec pub.dev, and you type any like location package, so basically location needs to access platform features, and you can see that it's Android. You can use this package for Android, iOS, Mac OS, and web, and it has a lot of likes, and it also Flutter favorite. It's very good to check if you need some feature. You should go to pubdev, check whether it's already implemented, whether there is a good package. You can um, check how many likes it has, whether how many points, how popular it is, and if you see that it's Flutter favorite, you definitely should use it, because Flutter favorite packages are reviewed by Flutter experts, and also by Google team.
Thank you, Katrina. It was a wonderful session. We got a chance to learn a lot of informative stuff from you. So, Stephanie and Jeff, if you would like to say something, we need to wrap up this session.
Yes, thank you so much, Katarina, for this really interesting and a lot of content also that you provided. So thank you so much for that. I have also a small question. So for example, my core team members, they are working on an app, and they are using currently Android Studio, but some of them are having some issues. So I was wondering, is it a possibility that one of them use Visual Studio and the other one uses Android Studio?
It depends, actually, because I I prefer that everyone in the team use the same tool, basically. Let me show you just why. You can So if you use VS Code, you can create some folder and you can configure your project. For example, you how you'd like to start your project, and you can have sometimes the same settings for the whole team. And but if it's a simple app, I don't think that it might be a problem if you someone uses Android Studio and another one VS Code.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was wondering a bit about that, but yes, as you said, it's very preferably to just stay in one route and just everyone to work on in one environment instead of just continuing on different ones. But yeah, thank you so much, Katarina, for presenting for us, for taking your time and coming here and just to teach us and everyone just being part of the Global Tech Fest. So thank you so much. And yeah,
Thank you
and that
for
is basically it.
thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone. Now we will maybe have a short break so everyone can just get some cup of coffee, get some hot cocoa if they're in a cold environment, and then we will continue on with our next workshop, which will be with Nima.
Who will talk about Android, correct?
Yes, Nima will present about the Android technology in this case, and then later on we will continue with Samia, who will talk about TensorFlow.
So stay tuned, enjoy your break.
Yes, we will be back in about 5-6 minutes, so just on point. So go grab your coffee, take a break, get some water, go to the bathroom maybe, and we'll see you in a
Yeah.
little bit.
Meanwhile,
Awesome.
we could have a little discussion about our last session. I think Katrina was amazing. She did a wonderful job. I myself got a chance to learn a lot of new things about the Flutter. So, what do you guys think about it? And we have our fellow Bilal with us as well. So, Bilal was here the whole time. So, welcome, Bilal. How was the session? What do you think? Was it awesome?
Hi, how are you, everyone? I just joined in the midway when Katrina was talking, but I followed up and it was good. It was amazing. And you guys were presenting and hosting in a pretty good way. Stephanie, Haldun, Jeff, you guys were great, obviously great.
That's great. So, Jeff, how was the session for you?
Awesome. And I'd be curious to learn from what countries our um, attendees are dialing in from. Like maybe if you can type in the comment sections, where are you from?
Yeah, we would love to know that. We would love to know that. Where are you from? What's your country? And maybe what's your GDSC chapter? You could share that in the comment section of YouTube or Facebook or from whatever the platform you are watching this now.
And by the way, where are you dialing in from? I know Mosin from Pakistan, but how about Stephanie and Khaldun?
Well, I am currently in Norway, but I am representing UK, so I'm the GDSC lead from the Open University.
That's great. So, Carl, how was the session for you? I think Hall is having an internet issue. No worries. So the next session is going to be about the Android. So Android is kind of one of my favorite technology. What do you think, Bilal? What do you think about Android? Is
Yeah,
it a
I
powerful
recently
tool?
started working in Android, basically in Java, not Kotlin at all. It was my university's chapter, a course you can say, which made me introduced to, which introduced me this Android thing at all. I have no profound love for Android. I cannot lie in front of you that I have profound love for that. My love is for TensorFlow. It's dedicated, and I will always say this thing.
That's great. That's great. We I'm also working on machine learning, but sometimes we need to integrate our model in the Android phones as well. So for that, we might need to know a little bit about Android, and maybe if we want to integrate our model into iOS, so we need to have the little bit side knowledge as well. That's what I think, but your
Yeah,
opinion may differ.
I love that part of Android when we can use our TensorFlow model and convert it into TensorFlow Lite and then use it in Android. I like that part. I just love it.
That's great. So I believe that our next speaker is here. So Stephanie, could you introduce him so that we could start our Android session?
Yes, so Nima, are you ready to share your workshop with all of these students about Android so they can learn from you? You ready?
Yep.
Yes, thank you for joining
Yeah,
us,
is
Nima.
here.
The stage is
Hello,
all
everyone.
yours.
Thank you for having me here. I want to actually thank Katerina first of all because I just discovered pop.dev. It was amazing, and of course, no one can like operating systems without considering how important Android is to the market. It's around 70% of the mobile phones out there, and all the tools that we are introducing in this event actually are supporting Android since they all belong to Google. So yes, we can get started on the presentation if everybody is ready. I will share the presentation right now. Okay, so first of all, I'm Nima, as I just mentioned earlier. I'm from GDSC Bilkent University from Turkey. I'm actually from Iran myself, but I'm representing Turkey here, and we're really happy to have you. And let's just start off. So Android 12 has three major areas that everyone should focus on. And first one is actually system UI. And one word that I think you are going to hear me say a lot during this event is actually smooth. Because Android UI is designed to be very smooth, very responsive, and it feels a lot faster compared to the previous versions. And it's totally redesigned after 6 years of previous design. So of course you cannot redesign Android without considering one of its most important core features, which is widgets. Android 12 actually supports Material U, which is a new material design that is fully customizable by app builders like you guys, attendees here. And if you actually want to learn more about what Material U is, you can access from the link here. I'm going to share this presentation later. Hopefully in the comments I can put a link to it so everyone can easily access the links that I leave here in the the slides. So first of all, I have to mention that Android 12 is supporting something that is called the theme device default day night. What it does is that it takes the theme of your phone, of your Android device, and for example, the theme color here is green and blue. What it does is to make some shades of these colors, and depending on the time of the day, it is going to put those shades to make it easier to see your screen, more pleasant, more smooth, better looking UI. Actually, on Pixel phones, it goes even one step further, and with using the color extraction technology, it's going to see your wallpaper and it's going to decide the colors and shades based on that, which is pretty cool. So next, as I mentioned, widgets are a really important part of Android. They have always been. And here now in the Android 12, actually you can make more widgets much more engaging and much more, it can increase your adaptation. And you can actually design them very, freely. It's going to be a lot easier to build also, which I'm going to mention later also again here in the presentation. As you see, the widgets here are going to have native support for interactive elements like checkboxes, switches, radio buttons, and also they have better support for tappable controls, so users can actually engage with your app just from the home screen. Also, on top of that, Android is improving discoverability with a revamped widget picker where you can provide more accurate description of your widgets and actually have a preview of the layout and the widget description itself. But widgets are not only for your home screen. Android 12 is considering widgets to be available in more places. For example, in your Android Auto and also your Assistant, Google Assistant on mobile, you can access the switches. You can actually design widgets for these pages, so it's more accessible from every other device that supports Android. Also, as part of Material U, Android is actually enabling color theming capabilities in your home screen, and it's easier to personalize colors for the end users. But also, of course, the app designers can extend the apps and create more widgets considering the themes that the users are using. So it's as a artificial intelligence system that is going to change your widgets depending on the color and themes that the user is making use of. And also on Pixel, it's going to adapt to wallpaper colors, as we mentioned. Even the widgets are going to be affected by that, not just the system UI, which again is really cool. Also, Android 12 introduces system-level resources, which allow the launcher to control to change the paddings and corner radii and automatically apply provide consistent design across all of the widgets. So there's actually a number of ways that you can customize the look and feel of the Android 12, and one of them is actually changing the widgets, of course. You want to make the widgets look more harmonious and more fitting into the final product. So, for example, here you can see the checklist on the right side. It shows that you can actually add a system level resource on the corner radii, as you see in the code. And there are some new functions that you can use. For example, adding dynamic colors is actually as simple as adding the system theme to your widget. You can just use the color attributes defined in the system. As you see in the actually function written over there, it says style theme device default day night. Exactly the colors that I explained before from the day night function. You can use them for the dynamic colors of the system again. You see the widgets actually change color depending on your UI color. So next. And as you can see on the code snippet on the right side, the widget reconfigurable starts here in the second line. To change these widget features, you should available reconfigurable, so the system can actually add these colors according to the theme. If you actually want to learn more about these tools that I just mentioned, you can use the links here. There is a sample on GitHub which you can use. Of course, I'm going to share this presentation, as I mentioned before. You can access them very easily later on. Also, Android 12 actually brings more consistency across the ecosystem. And one of the things that it brings is customizable notification bars. So as you see, you can actually change the header part, the app icon. You can change the content of the notification according to how you want it to be designed. You don't have to use a specific model. And for notifications, you can actually make them seem more fitting inside the device theme. So as I mentioned, the whole point of the system UI part of this presentation is to tell how to, as I was saying, is to make the system way more smooth. And Android really recommends that you actually update your app's target SDK level, and so that you can make sure that the devices are actually capable of running these customizable notifications and things like this. Also, I mean, if you have ever used Android, of course, you have noticed when you scroll the bar to the top, there is a glow effect. It creates some light at the top of the screen or maybe at the bottom of the screen. which is really old. It's been there for a really long time. And right now it's actually being replaced by something way more smoother. I said it again, which is actually a stretch effect, which is going to give you a more natural, scrolling feel. It's going to feel a lot, more native to the system than something really, fake. And it can actually be customized, but again, Android recommends you to update your app's target SDK level and make sure that they can actually, provide such, widgets to the user's device. Another major focus area of Android is, of course, privacy and security. It's always been. This is actually my favorite part of the event. And we're going to move on now to the three main topics. So the privacy principles of Android are transparency, which actually means that the user is going to know what data is from their device is being used. They can actually see the data, being used by different apps. They can have a control over it. They can make sure how the data is being taken from the device, and also Android will minimize certain data that are actually leaving your device to those apps. So the transparency principle, the first part, which is really cool, is the indicators of microphone and camera. So if any application in the background, in the foreground, anywhere is using your microphone or camera, your Android 12 device will show you with the indicators in the top right corner. And you will always know if your camera or microphone is open. So that's actually really important, because if there is an application running in the background that somehow got your permission to use those, hardware systems, you can easily understand that they're being used, and you can actually, as I will mention later, you can somehow stop them. So let's move on. So yes, in the control center of your Android 12 device, there's gonna be an off button for both the microphone and camera, which actually turn off microphone and camera for every device, every application in the device. But the cool thing is that they don't actually turn them off or make it look like that your phone doesn't have a camera or a microphone. What they do, in fact, is that, for example, for the microphone, it's gonna play some noise. For the camera, it's gonna be a blank field. So the application that is trying to use your hardware is going to think that there is actually a camera and is actually using the video, or it's going to think that it's listening to you through your microphone, but they're actually not. That's just blank fields. And so they cannot limit your usability of the application. That is very important, and it's actually available on all of the target API levels, so all of the Android versions should be able to, all of the SDK levels should be able to use this. Continuing with the control principle, I should mention that there is a new feature in the location side of Android, which is pretty cool, is that sometimes there are some applications that they shouldn't require you to actually give them your precise location. So like maybe, for example, an application just needs to know which country you're in, which city you are. Nothing more than that. They shouldn't know your exact location. So Android actually will allow the users to share their approximate location from now on. They won't have to give you the ultimate location of exactly where they are. They can just share with you which city they are, maybe a fake address, so that you will not know about it. And it's available on the, of course, the latest version of Android. And the apps that want to make use of this feature have to be targeting the Android 12. So if you actually want to create an application, you want to know what exactly you will need, you should think really through, does your app actually need precise location or not? And if it actually doesn't need precise location, you can just use the course command, which gives them the approximate location permission. And if you actually need the precise location, you should use both the course command and the find location permissions. Here you can see the commands. As you see, manifest of permissions, you have to write access find location and also access course location to be able to access the precise location of the user. As you update your app's target API level to Android 12, pay attention to this locket output. It's actually going to let you know that if you want to use precise location, you have to make use of both of the functions, as I mentioned. Don't forget to add both course and file locations at the same time to be able to use the precise location of the user. And related to the location permissions and following with the data minimization principle, apps that target Android 12 would actually have the option to decouple Bluetooth scanning and define location permissions for use cases like just pairing devices. So you can explicitly say that you require the Bluetooth scan, and but you won't be using it to actually infer the user's location. So you can actually use the command never for location, as you can see on the screen. Then it will only use the Bluetooth scan to find the other device and connect with them. Also, even better is that you can use Companion Device Manager API, which provides a more streamlined UX, and also it has some extra advantages that we can learn from their own website. And more on data minimization, Android 12 will have a really cool feature. I mean, you have definitely experienced that you have some apps on your device that you will forget to use, you will never use them. They're, you want to have them on your device, but you are not using them very often, unless you are like me and you have really low memory and you delete everything. So if you have experienced something like that, this option of Android 12 is pretty cool. It's called Hibernation. What it does, it checks that if the system is not using the application very often, it's going to, first of all, take all of the permissions from the application away again. It's going to reset the permissions so that the application will not be able to run in the background and access your data without you using it. Also, it's going to free up the storage by clearing the app cache, because since you're not using the application very often, you probably don't need it. Small data is there that it has been collecting. And any jobs and push messages, even the high priority ones, will also stop, and your app will actually behave as if it was forced stop by you. So that's what Hibernation does. It's going to put your app into a resting mode so that it cannot access any data that you have, so it can be pretty secure. And also, it's actually definitely uses less battery, uses less battery and less data. So it's actually a win-win situation for you, definitely. Before I move on to the next part, if you guys are happy with the presentation till now, please support us on our Linktree page. You can find the QR code here. We would be really happy to have you on our next events. I'm going to stop here for a while so you guys can scan the code if you want to. So I guess we can move on now. Okay, to conclude this overview, let's just talk about the app startup performance, which is also another major focus area of this year. There are 4 main topics, which is improving your apps to startup. Android is introducing something called the Macro Bench, which is a library that helps you profile your application. They're also introducing a new splash screen to all applications, which I'm going to explain further. It actually ensures that your app links are actually launching correctly, and it's being more smooth again, and that it will improve the launch of apps from the user notifications also. So a major change in the introduction of splash screens to all applications is that there's something called all apps splash screen. By default, your system's theme in the background is going to the application is going to have an icon. So the device, whenever it's doing a cold start, you're turning it on after a long time. Of course, opening an application will take some time. So instead of staying frozen and not doing anything, then suddenly opening the application and loading for a long time, Android is bringing something which is available to all applications, as I mentioned. It's going to animate the icon of your application that you're opening and opens it very smoothly, actually buys the application some time to load. So the user actually doesn't notice that the application is being loaded. So it's pretty good for all developers, but you just have to be very careful. If your application already has that, you have to consider that it can actually duplicate when you are using Android 12. So of course, as I mentioned before, update your target SDK levels and make sure that when you do, your application is not causing duplication of Splash. The icon in the background color can actually be specified in your app theme using these attributes on the screen. So if you actually like to configure the the splash screen further, you can use the command activity.getSplashScreen and just configure it however you want. If you actually want to customize the animation, you can use the splash screen set on exit animation listener. This is a new command, and you can just call back these functions and configure this stuff however you want. There are actually examples on the top if you see it there. Again, I'm sharing this presentation later, so don't worry about forgetting this stuff. They're always available. If you actually want to learn more about these APIs, and especially the splash screen API, these links are available in the presentation. Don't worry about it. Please, I recommend looking at the Jetpack library here, which is currently in alpha mode. So just wait for the new updates if you want to maybe be safe to use it. Okay, so app links are not actually something new. Of course, you have seen it in different applications. You click on something, goes to a new page. But Android 12 is actually improving these app links. For example, there is a problem with app links that some developers actually make mistakes configuring their app links and sometimes actually cause more disambiguation dialogues to show up than are necessary. So in Android 12, first of all, it's being improved that the app links are going to reduce user friction resulting from the improper setup and providing tools to detect the problems. Also, app links the app link verification granular link by link basis is available right now. So if one of the app links fail, the other ones are not going to be affected, not at all. So only that one is going to fail. Everything else is definitely available. You can use the ADB command, as you can see on the screen. If you want to test these app links, you can kind of debug these app links to make sure they're working perfectly. And Android 12 would actually take users, directly to a browser for web links if there is no default application to run those web links. For example, maybe there is a link to Google Calendar, but the calendar is not available on that device. So it's going to be opened by the default browser on your device automatically to, actually cause less problems than before. There's not going to be like a bug that says, why don't you have this application? Because most of these links, web links are actually, able to be opened by current browsers. And third, there are new APIs in Android 12 that actually let you check for domain verification states if you need it. And you can actually take the user settings and approve the domains for your app. Just make sure to check out these tools that verify your app link setup is good to go. I mean, especially the ADB command. Don't forget to debug the app links. So there is a problem in the old Android devices. Let's not say a problem. It's just that there are things that called notification trampolines. So what happens is that when you click on a notification, it opens a receiver, a broadcast receiver, that decides where the next destination is. And these applications, we actually can cause a really long loading time compared to what should actually happen. And also, they might actually bring you to the wrong notification page, maybe just do it on purpose to move you to whatever the page it is that they want, instead of showing you that exact notification. So in Android 12, all of the apps that are actually made for Android 12 and above won't be able to launch an activity inside a broadcast receiver or service that was started from a notification. So they have to open that notification directly. This way, it's actually, the applications are going to be a lot faster, and also they're not going to show any unnecessary content, which is actually good for both the user and the developer that has good intentions. So actually, before I conclude this section, I want to mention that another use is that you know, the developers make use a lot is actually foreground services. Foreground services are designed for multitasking. So, like for example, the user wants to listen to a podcast while ordering food, or just wants to check their email while helping a friend, like tell them where to go, which direction. So when you want these apps to be opened at the same time, you want these multitasking, you put them on foreground services, so they receive high priority over everything else. That's why this system was designed in Android from the beginning, to multitask and complete the user's actions. But unfortunately, it seems that 46% of these foreground services are actually launched from the background applications that are running in the background instead of people launching them themselves on the foreground, which actually is definitely causing, you know, really bad lags and delays in the system. Some background apps are just abusing this high priority and they're putting themselves forward. So Android 12 is actually going to disallow all of the foreground services that launch from the background from now on. So every app that is designed for Android 12 or above is going to be, if it runs in the background, it cannot launch anything in the foreground. All of them are going to be disallowed. And of course, if it's not being done right now, it can be very unexpected and very distracting for normal users. So that's one of the reasons it's being done. I mean, of course, you might think, so I'm making an application that needs to, you know, make use of the foreground services. We have to show something to the user. It's something immediate. The user has to have access to that information immediately. So Android 12 actually brings you something called the expedited jobs that your app can actually migrate to instead. So for a short amount of time, the background task can actually be executed on the foreground if they need to be executed as soon as possible. And it's going to be very low latency jobs that can be invoked from both sides, of course, immediately. So don't worry about that. If your application actually needs to be run from the background to the foreground, it's going to be done through these APIs. So if you actually want to learn about these APIs, again, I'm going to share this presentation. You can Google it yourself. Google has so many you know, free resources available, and people are helping each other on many different platforms. So don't worry about these. Even though these are new functions, there is so many learning possibilities available for you. So that's it from my part. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, I wish that I can answer, but in case I can't, I can actually reach out to someone for you and find someone who can actually help you with. So if you have any questions, just shoot.
Yeah, it was a great session. Nima, you described each and everything about the Android 12 in a very good manner. We also have Jeff and Stephanie on the screen now. So, Jeff and Stephanie, what do you want to say about this session?
Thanks so much, Nima, for this very nice presentation.
Thank you for inviting me.
Maybe, how long have you been working with Android?
Not very long, actually. I've always been interested in Android, to be honest, since I was a kid. I really wanted to get into mobile development, but I didn't get the chance that much. But I think Flutter is a really good, you know, application, really good tool to help you enter these new boundaries. Let's say the new Android capabilities, especially. So if anyone is interested in these things, if in Android development, I really recommend going for Flutter.
Maybe for beginners it's not clear. What is the difference between Android and Flutter?
So Android is an operating system. If you want to develop apps for Android as the operating system, they're mostly are native apps. They actually use Kotlin, of course, using Java. Now there are more, you know, resources available. Like you can, for example, use Flutter and React, which are tools that are, you know, multi-platform tools. So you can develop application for different operating systems at the same time, just running one single code base. So Android, if people did not understand, I'm going to mention again, is the operating system that the apps run on. And Flutter is going to be the tool that helps you create those applications.
That's very cool. As we saw, then Flutter is supports various platforms, including Android, but also iOS and probably even desktop like Windows.
Exactly. It's amazing. It actually changes every pixel on your device, directly itself. So it's pretty cool. Is there any other questions?
That's great. So, Nima, what was the track that you followed in learning the Android, or are you currently following some track, maybe taking some courses, code labs?
Actually, I started with web development courses in my university, and I'm currently trying to learn Flutter from some Udemy courses. Of course, there are resources available on the Google's websites themselves. Flutter. I just discovered pop.dev. It's an amazing feature. Thanks, Katerina, for introducing it. And if you want to learn about these stuff, I believe there's a website called the Roadmap, if I'm not mistaken. It shows you ways how to learn something you want. If you want to have a career in mobile development, it tells you what you can learn, what you should continue with, and what skills you should have. It's pretty cool. I will share it if I can find the link.
Yeah, you can share the link meanwhile. And would you like to mention some of your projects that you did on the Android, or maybe you are currently doing something on the Android?
Yes, so actually, right now I'm trying to work on an application that I cannot mention who it is for yet, but the application is going to be made with Flutter. It's going to be a system that takes appointments, schedules, and does calendar things like that. So Flutter actually has pre-made widgets for it. So the app that would normally take, for example, a few months for you to develop can actually be made with these widgets really fast, maybe in a few weeks, maybe in a month. And as I mentioned, because you're developing the application for one single code base, it's really easy to just import into any different operating system that you want. You can even turn them into web applications right now, so that's also pretty cool.
By the way, did you participate in the solution challenge any like this year or any of the previous ones?
Actually, this is my first year in this club, so I'm trying to participate in Solution Challenge, but unfortunately, my midterms are this week. There's so many problems coming up. I will try to participate as much as I can, but we will see what happens. It's worth trying, I think. If anybody wants to challenge themselves a bit, do something cool, try to participate. You will actually get a certificate for participating in this event. It's a pretty cool global event.
Yeah, and I think from Turkey, there was a guy named Danis. He
Yes.
got shortlisted for top 10 solutions in the solution challenge last year.
This is actually our Android mentor right now from the O2 University. It's known as Middle East Technical University. He's doing pretty well. He actually gave me this presentation, helped me a lot with doing this, Android event right now. So shout out to him.
Yeah, that's great. So, what sort of activities did you do in your tenure of last year as a GDSC lead?
I was here since last semester. We actually tried to help the students first build a solid ground before entering these technologies because they might be a bit more advanced for them. Like we tried to have a Flutter session and a Firebase session for students, but since they didn't know much about development of the mobile applications, they were a bit confused. So we introduced some open source softwares, for example, Linux. We introduced Linux to the students, helped them install it. We did some algorithm sessions. We did some programming sessions, basic programming on Python. Then we moved to Google technologies, for example, TensorFlow, which I'm like really excited to see next. And people were actually very happy with the events that the previous semester, but unfortunately this semester it's all online, so it's going to be a bit of a challenge to continue. So just hope to see you guys here on these online events.
Yeah, that's great. So thank you so much, Nima. It was a wonderful session, and I think it's time to move towards the next session. But before that, I would like to ask Stephanie that would you like to say something about this event? I think Stephanie is having some internet connections problem, so let's have Carl. So, Carl, do you want to say something?
So I first want to thank our speakers today and from yesterday. I learned a great amount, and I'm starting to look at Android, and maybe I may want to go back into learning about it. I started for about a week and then I gave up. So, Nima, do you have any suggestions to bring back the motivation?
To be honest, for me, the new features are pretty cool. Like when I saw them on YouTube, like learn more about them, especially the privacy security ones, it makes you want to learn more about it. You know, maybe the new applications developed by people you see in the community, you know, with really simple products that they have, it's just still really motivating. And also, before we move on, I want to say that I saw these questions on the comments. I hope I pronounce your name right. Sorry, it's Rabindra Patil, I think. You said that, can you tell me how to display Flutter notifications when app is closed or terminated? I have tried lots of ways, but not found any solution. Actually, I am not certain about this. I'm going to leave my email address here. If you can email me, that would be grateful. I'm going to try to find the answer for you from someone who's an experienced Flutter developer, and I will share it with you.
Yeah, that's great. If you could just share your email or LinkedIn in the chat, I could drop it in the comment section.
Sure. Again, thank you for having me here. I'm really grateful.
Yeah.
Nice to see you guys.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Nima.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nima. And by the way, will you share the slides as well in some way?
Yes. So I think it was a wonderful session. What do you think, Jeff?
It was amazing. Yeah, I'm new to Android. Found it really interesting. Great way to start. And the solution challenge is one of the best way to put into practice what you learn in these kind of workshops. Rather than just working alone independently, you can form a team and work on one of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. That may interest some of our participants.
Yeah, that's great. Even we are working on solution challenge as well. In my country, we have some of my fellow leads. They have started a national level hackathon, and they are training the people to bring their idea to the solution challenge. So they are working hard on it, and I think it's a good opportunity for people to use their skills of programming and computer science to solve the real world problems. So it is a good
Make an
opportunity.
impact. Their local
Yeah,
communities, there are many problems you cannot see, but when you discover them, maybe you figure out a solution that can be implemented in the form of an app. And then if you
yes.
participate in the solution challenge, there is also the chance to win awesome prizes.
That's great. So we have Bilal on the screen, which means that we are going to discuss something related to machine learning and deep learning. So yes, this is the time to move towards the next section, and that is TensorFlow. So Jeff and Carl, we will see you at the end of this event. So for now, we can take care of the next section. Okay,
Thanks a
see you
lot,
soon.
Mosin, for coordinating. See you later.
So Bilal, what excites you about TensorFlow, that you just mentioned a few minutes ago that you loved only one thing, and that is TensorFlow. So before we invite our speaker of TensorFlow, I would like you to say something about TensorFlow.
Yeah. Mohsin, it's my journey of TensorFlow started from a very different background, you can say. I was just searching about what is AI and how can I jump into it, how can I start my journey. So as soon as I learned all my Python stuff and the libraries like NumPy, Pandas, I just wondered how I can train a simple model, because I started from deep learning, uh, the concepts of deep learning. I didn't learn the basic concepts of machine learning before. So I wonder how I can train my model using deep learning neural network, and which library will assist me the best. So there was an image data set basically, I was trying to train. So I tried it with PyTorch. I faced some issues which were not being handled by me, and I could not find that on Stack Overflow as well. Then I tried it with TensorFlow, and the first thing which really amazed me was the image generators. I used the image generator, and it easily uploaded my data. You can say that easily splitted my data into training and test folders, and then load that data in just seconds, you can say. So that's when I got impressed that this is the one I should work on, and I should learn more and more about it. So I
That's
just
great. So I believe it's going to be an interesting session, and our speaker is going to discuss a lot of informative stuff regarding TensorFlow with us. So without wasting any further time, let's invite our speaker. Our next speaker is Samia. She is from Pakistan. She is an ML enthusiast and currently working in natural language processing. Natural language processing is the sub branch of machine learning in which you usually deal with the speech, you can say the audio speech or the text. So she has done a lot of amazing projects. The rest of the things about her, she herself will tell you. So without wasting any further time, let's invite Samya. So, Samya, you are on the screen now.
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, friends from a technology world. So, yeah, I'm going to discuss TensorFlow today. So, while
That's
getting
great.
into it, so I'll start from my introduction and about who I am and what I'm interested in. Then we'll go to TensorFlow, and then we'll discuss some solutions using TensorFlow, that how we are solving real world problems. Okay,
That's great.
so let me start from my introduction. As Mohsin told you, I'm a machine learning enthusiast. In machine learning, I'm basically working in natural language processing from last 1 year. Natural language processing is the domain of machine learning in which we deal with language, and it can be in a form of text and it can be any sort of audio. So if I specify it in a bit detail, then in text, I have worked on sentimental analysis project. It analyzes emotions in the text and determines whether the piece of text or that writing means our data is positive, negative, or neutral. Like giant companies has been using it to understand the social sentiments of their customers. And currently, I'm working in like you can say in classifying audio speech using deep learning and machine learning techniques, that is toxicity detection in speech. It detects the unethical conversation, and it's been common in like multiplayer online games that is upsetting for many of us. Like the toxicity they use in those games, that's quite upsetting. So yeah, we have covered it in transcription form, like in textual form, and now we are making progress in learning and implementing it using acoustic features. Other than that, I have successfully completed machine learning based project on image classification as well. And coming to the author of a book, well, I have written a book based on our research and findings. It's on digital speech processing, and it will be published anytime soon in the future, inshallah, finger crossed. So, well, what's so fascinating about machine learning and deep learning? What fascinates me in these as like in these aspects? The thing that fascinates me about machine learning and deep learning is the ease it provides us. Like, machine learning is bringing ease in multiple sections of our lives. We have been using some common apps in our daily lives, like Google Assistant, self-driven cars, Snapchat filters, and recommendation system. So let's discuss Google Assistant first. Google Assistant is actually a intelligent tool searching on our voice commands, and it also engages us in two-way communication. It is for sure that you have been using it during pandemic. You must would have searched your jokes on it or searched some
Yeah,
other text on it. Uh, like, you must would have had some entertainment while using it. So, well,
yeah,
it
definitely.
relies, yeah, well, yeah, it uses natural language processing to understand what the user is saying and make suggestions and act on that language input. So it's all about what you are saying and then understanding and transcribing and checking those all in the dictionary and giving you required results. Then we have our recommendation systems. It's like it's something like information filtering system providing suggestions relevant to the choices user made in the past. Like in our YouTube, Netflix, and Amazon, you must would have wondered like whatever you have been searching recently and watching recently, uh, in the future, in the near future, they make the recommendations based on the researches you made in the past. So yeah, they generate magical recommendations about the items, products, and shows that we are might be interested in. It is all for the better user experience, and they use machine learning and AI tools to engage their users or customers in their product and system. So we no more need a lot of searches to reach our desired product. Then we have our self-driven cars. I think the self-driven cars are capturing images at the runtime and are using some sort of sensors, GPS, and navigation systems. And on the basis of them, they are making decisions, like how should their car behave on the road, and when they encounter some sort of circumstances and some sort of situation around them, and how the car will deal with it, like how it will park and how it will work when there's a traffic or something like some obstacle on your way. Then we have our favorite Snapchat filters. Like, about filters, they are part of image processing. In image processing, machine learning and deep learning are playing their roles as well, like in detection and differentiating face structure and features. Recently, Snapchat has also launched SnapML. Like, it's a specific platform, it's a specific tool that uses machine learning algorithms to create lenses that are actually the filters. So it's all about machine learning, the filters we are using on Snapchat. So there are a lot of things like that we interact in our daily life and all of them are revolved around machine learning. And simply we can say that machine learning, it's everywhere, from industrial systems to personal Android phones. We can find hundreds of examples where machine learning and deep learning is implemented. So today we are going to talk about a cool and powerful tool of machine learning and deep learning, and it's by Google, and it's TensorFlow. So here the question is like, how many of you have heard about it, or how many of you have worked on it? Well, I think many of you have hands on it and probably are solving complex problems using it. Those who do not have know-how about it, it let's discuss it in a bit detail. So, what is TensorFlow? TensorFlow is an open source machine learning framework that is created by Google to design, build, and train deep learning models. Here I use two terms like machine learning and deep learning. So, what exactly machine learning and deep learning is? Machine learning is an application of artificial intelligence that provides systems the ability to automatically learn and improve from experience. User feeds a large amount of data, like immense amount of data to the computer algorithm and have the computer analyze, and computer analyzes that and then make recommendations and decisions based on it. Like, it's data driven system that only works on the input data. As for the deep learning, it is actually a subfield of machine learning. Like, it is more inspired by the structure and functioning of human brain. It imitates, or it copies the way humans gain certain type of knowledge. Machine learning helps in collecting, analyzing, and interpreting large amount of data in faster and easier way. So now the question arises, how TensorFlow is related to machine learning and deep learning. So, as I told you, TensorFlow is an end-to-end open source platform for machine learning. It's a rich system and it manages all aspects of the machine learning system, as it particularly focuses on TensorFlow API to develop and train machine learning models. TensorFlow provides comprehensive and flexible ecosystem of tools, libraries, and community resources. It allows us researchers to apply some sort of state of the art in machine learning, and it helps developers in building and deploying machine learning powered applications quicker than ever. So TensorFlow can run on multiple CPUs and GPUs along all computing platforms like Linux, Mac, Windows, even including Android and iOS. Now, here is what is TensorFlow in machine learning. Um, as I said before, in machine learning, we make our machine learning model build our machine learning model, and before going to the application phase, we go through in different steps. like that are mentioned here: train, evaluate, deploy, and improve. So what we actually do is we train our model based on the data that we provide it. It is the most crucial phase. Sometimes most hectic point is building our model is the point where we give the data to our model. Like the data is, it's all about the data. So, well, TensorFlow framework provides functions to train model, and it provides different methods that helps us to train our model in an easier and simplified way. Once the model is trained, we evaluate it using some testing data. Data is the soul of machine learning and any AI model. For testing, we check, we can use, or in evaluation, we can check TensorFlow's evaluate function to validate data and make predictions for the input samples. Then we deploy our data in real-world environment, obviously after getting good accuracy score. And the last and everlasting stage is improving our model and accommodating new changes. All the processes is on data, and to enhance our data, TensorFlow also help us in that regard. It help us by using different functions like data augmentation and others. So this is how TensorFlow is helping us in each step of machine learning. So to get a bit more description about TensorFlow, like what it is exactly and what sort of thing we are building we built using TensorFlow. Let's check a quick video.
Simon, there's a problem. Could you please just share your video or share your screen so that we could see the video? Because so far you have shared your slides. So on the slides, we would not be able to see the video. So if you could just share your screen for this video part.
Okay, just a second. Let me share my screen again.
Okay.
Is it visible now? Just give me a heads on so that I can start it.
Sorry, you can start it now. My mic was off, but you can start it now.
Okay.
TensorFlow is an open source end-to-end platform for machine learning. It provides a comprehensive ecosystem of tools for developers, enterprises, and researchers who want to push the state-of-the-art of machine learning and build scalable machine learning-powered applications. TensorFlow is designed to help you learn to build models easily. With an intuitive, easy-to-use set of APIs that makes it simple for you to learn and implement machine learning, deep learning, and scientific computing, it provides you with a rich collection of tools for building models. These include data pre-processing, data ingestion, model evaluation, visualization, and serving. But it's not just for building models. You can easily train and deploy your model anywhere with TensorFlow. It's designed to be highly portable, running on a variety of devices and platforms. It can scale from a single CPU to a GPU or cluster of GPUs all the way up to a multi-node TPU infrastructure. So it's simple to build models that work on any platform, taking advantage of the power of each. TensorFlow also allows for powerful experimentation. With the flexibility to quickly implement state-of-the-art models, TensorFlow can power your research into new techniques to solve novel problems. These include diagnosis of diabetic retinopathy, helping rural farmers spot diseased plants, and predicting extreme weather conditions. With fast debugging and the ability to apply state-of-the-art ML models. And to top it all off, TensorFlow is driven by a worldwide community. This community is open and diverse. TensorFlow derives its roadmap from the needs of its users, with a vision to provide a machine learning platform that's for everyone. You can learn more about TensorFlow at tensorflow.org.
That's great. That was a descriptive video. So I'm displaying your slides again.
Okay.
Your slides are on this screen now, Samya. Pathway to TensorFlow.
Yeah. So in the video, we got a brief description about a TensorFlow and the thing that it is actually working on. So yeah, as for the path flow to TensorFlow, to become an expert in machine learning, you first need a strong foundation in four learning areas. That is your coding skills, math skills, machine learning skills and theory, and how you are going to build your own machine learning project. So TensorFlow helps us even in this regard. TensorFlow provides us a pathway to start our career in machine learning and deep learning. It is available on its site. It educates us and helps us with a curriculum to improve these four skills or choosing your own learning path by exploring uh, our resource libraries. When coming to coding skills, like building machine learning models involves much more than just knowing machine learning concepts. It requires coding in order to do the data management, parameter tuning, and parsing results need to test and optimize your model. So it's all about the coding skills you have. Machine learning is a math heavy discipline. Like you need to do a lot of maths. If you plan to modify a machine learning model or build new ones from scratch, then you must should have some familiarity with math concepts, and it's really very crucial. Then we have machine learning theory. Knowing the basics of machine learning theory gives a foundation to build our machine learning model, and it helps troubleshooting whenever something goes wrong. And then we have to build our own projects. Getting hands-on experience with machine learning is the best way to test our knowledge. So there is nothing to be afraid to dive in and just y- do you practice different projects and use your theoretical concepts and your coding skills and build some projects. So in TensorFlow curriculum, I suggest beginners to go through it. It provides basics of machine learning and theoretical advanced machine learning, and it also helps Java developers in Java development using TensorFlow. So you guys should go tensorflow.org and check the points there. So where did I used TensorFlow? Uh, I recently used TensorFlow's model for source separation problem. I used it for the pre-processing of our audio data. With this model, what it actually do is that when we provide it an audio, it separates the different sources of that audio. with the help of this, uh, our train model in our model training, we separate vocals and noise from our audio data. So it is useful to use TensorFlow models for it, and we used splitter function from Deezer library uh, for pre-processing our audio data. Other than that, we are building a machine learning based Android app these days, and we we have considered TensorFlow Lite for compressing our model and integrating it in our Android application to make our application faster. So, what TensorFlow Lite is actually a child of TensorFlow that helps us to run our machine learning platforms or apps or different models on our Android app or iOS app. Where TensorFlow is being used. So TensorFlow has been used in about all of major giant technological organizations, in which we have Google, Qualcomm, Spotify, Twitter, and China Mobile. Let's discuss all these in detail, that in which aspects and how they're in which aspects and how they are using TensorFlow. So first, let's come to Google. So Google built TensorFlow, and Google is using TensorFlow to bring machine learning to everyone. It uses TensorFlow to make machine learning implementation more powerful. It is using TensorFlow in searching process, like when we search on Google in about nano or even less than that seconds, it is providing us the huge amount of data. It is giving us the relatable searches regarding our search. So what it actually do, it uses TensorFlow, and uh, how they are using it. Even Google sometimes uses the past searches, and on the basis of our past searches, it shows us the our new search. Like once we were, I was searching soap on Google. So I just write soap in the search bar. So what it did, I previously searched something like related to computer and machine learning. So rather than showing actually the soap, like a soap bar, it showed me soap API. So this is how it works. It actually relates our new searches to our previous experience. And then we have Gmail. Gmail is also using machine learning TensorFlows. What it is doing, it's sometimes putting our mails to the spam automatically. So this is how it is filtrating the text, our emails based on the text. It goes through the content of our emails and then filtrate them. Either they are going to in our inbox or to our spam box. Then we have Google Translate. Google Translate is actually transcribing uh, our voice into speech, or our speech into text, and even converting one text from one language to another. So we must have used it, and there are whole loads of different fields that goes on and on using that Google is using in machine learning with TensorFlow. Then we have Qualcomm. Qualcomm accelerates TensorFlow models on Snapdragon mobile platform. It optimizes and accelerates TensorFlow and TensorFlow Lite across the platforms and also across chipset portfolio designed for IoT and electromotives. So, like Qualcomm Snapdragon is getting faster and faster day by day. It's a processor. It's been updated daily. So Qualcomm is using TensorFlow behind it.
That's
Then we
great.
have PayPal. Yeah. Then we have PayPal. Using TensorFlow, different PayPal. What PayPal is doing, uh, it is implementing deep transfer learning and generative modeling. Uh, and using these, PayPal is able to recognize complex fraud patterns, and using those varying fraud patterns, it is helping in fraud detection, and it is actually helping to increase fraud decline accuracy. It is improving experience of legitimate users. So how it is doing it, it is doing through precision in identification. It is getting more
That's
precise accuracy in while detecting fraud patterns. Then here comes our another everyday used app, Spotify. So what Spotify is doing, it personalizes recommendations for users. It has an opinionated set of products and configurations to deploy an end-to-end solution, end-to-end machine learning solutions. Then we have Twitter. Twitter is also using TensorFlow. For the users that they do not uh, get updated, or who do not use Twitter in daily, or there are chances that they will miss some highlights or some uh, current news from it. So what it do, uh, it ranked the timeline for the users who do not have turned on the Twitter and haven't checked the previous news. So it is actually ranking the whole timeline of each user. Then we have China mobiles. Mobiles or China mobiles is also using TensorFlow to improve success rate of network element cutovers. They have created deep learning systems to automatically predict cutover time window. It varies operations logs and detect network analogies. It empowers our communication system. And in Pakistan, telecom, there is very usable networking SIM, that is Zong. It is owned by Telcom. So we have come too far. I hope that you have gotten quite a good understanding and the use of TensorFlow, like how our big sharks, the giant companies out there are using it. Now we have been using TensorFlow, so let's check some problems that are solved using TensorFlow. So first we have uh, Airbnb using machine learning. What Airbnb is solving using machine learning. Airbnb using machine learning to help categorize its listing photos. So I hope you will get this video. Just check it. Go through it.
Airbnb is an online marketplace. We have over 5 million different homes in 81,000 cities, which equates to hundreds of millions of photos, making it possibly the largest collection of images of homes in the world today. When a guest decides to select a home, one of the biggest influences in their decision is a diverse set of images. but a lot of times hosts will take a lot of pictures of a single room and forget to take pictures of the other rooms.
They also have the option to add captions, but a lot of cases they're totally off.
We were faced with a challenge of identifying what's actually in these pictures and present them properly on the site. That's one area where machine learning excels. The real challenge was one of scale. We had upwards of 500 million images to get through. It was going to take months to really go through all of these.
Using TensorFlow, we were able to speed up the process and deliver a reasonable model within days. Bighead is Airbnb's machine learning platform. We had the idea of making it very agnostic to different ML frameworks, and so we leveraged TensorFlow to train the model, and then Bighead helps with the model lifecycle, the feature management, and then TensorFlow serving to help serve the model results.
Before you think about which tool to use, you first think about which model to use, right? And we did research on this. We find that ResNet 50 was one of the state-of-the-art performing models. We used that as the basic architecture.
We used TensorFlow's cross APIs and serving and some of the distributed GPU computations. This ultimately led to a pipeline that we can deploy to go through hundreds of millions of images very quickly.
So the end goal is basically using these classifications of images to make sure that their first initial set of photos that they see aren't just a picture of the garage and bathroom, but it could be of the living room that's gorgeous, and the bedroom, and the swimming pool. Future applications could be to detect different objects in homes, and if users decide to search on the website for specific amenity types, you can actually bubble that up to the surface.
If you like how Airbnb operates today, the reason was because of machine learning, because machine learning is almost everywhere in the company. Search ranking, pricing, predictive booking.
We're passing into the hundreds of models, so it's something I expect to keep growing.
And with a lot of these new frameworks coming out, we can make better experiences for our guests and better business decisions as well.
So, yeah, they have used listing. They have used listing photos to categorize them, and they solve this problem using machine learning. And in machine learning, they obviously use TensorFlow. Next, we have, and yeah, that was really super cool how they actually solved such a huge problem of mixing up all those photos, and now they have a proper model like that categorizes those images and then show them in a specific order in which the user actually wants it. So here we have another example of the problem that TensorFlow has solved. It is about paleographers. Like, they have transcribed Maldives text using machine learning. So about it, I would like you to check a quick video as well, because it is super cool.
Consultare documenti storici, soprattutto documenti medievali, richiede sempre molto tempo, molta pazienza. In Archivio Vaticano abbiamo 85 km lineari di documenti, più o meno la lunghezza del Canale di Panama. Le scritture scritte nel Medioevo sono diverse da quelle che noi conosciamo. Se qualcuno mi chiedesse un giorno di trascrivere e tradurre tutti i documenti dell'Archivio Vaticano, sicuramente gli direi che è un matto.
Looking at this book, page by page, and trying to decipher, read, and transcribe whatever is there takes an enormous amount of time. You would require an army of paleographers.
What I'm excited the most about machine learning is that it enabled us to solve problems that up to 10-15 years ago we thought unsolvable.
In Codice Razzi è nato da questa idea di costruire un software per poter interpretare, per poter leggere quello che è scritto dentro i manoscritti. Quando abbiamo iniziato ad approcciare il problema ci siamo resi conto che una soluzione basata su reti neurali fosse assolutamente necessaria. La scelta su TensorFlow è stata abbastanza naturale.
Before using any kind of machine learning model, we needed to collect data first. You have thousands of images of dogs and cats in the internet, but there is very little images of ancient manuscripts. We built our own custom web application for crowdsourcing, and we involved high school students to collect the data. I didn't know much about machine learning in general, but I found it very easy to create a TensorFlow environment. When we were trying to figure out which model worked best for us, Keras was the best solution. The production model runs on TensorFlow layers and estimator interface. We experimented with binary classification with fully connected networks, and finally we moved to convolutional neural network and multi-class classification.
In poco tempo siamo riusciti a sviluppare e a testare le prime soluzioni.
When it comes to recognizing single characters, we can get 95% average accuracy.
Poter accedere a uno strumento informatico abbrevia notevolmente. Sciogliere certe abbreviazioni, comprendere un testo in quella scrittura così criptica è un qualcosa di eccezionale.
This will have an enormous impact. In a short period of time, we will have a massive quantity of historical information available.
I just think solving problems is fun. It's a game against myself and how good I can do.
Lo studio della storia è importantissimo per comprendere il nostro presente e per avere anche una prospettiva per il futuro.
Okay, so that was really super cool. Like they have transcribed all ancient text to our current language, and it would have really difficult task in the past when they did not have machine learning models and they did not have TensorFlow, while translating those books or those images or those text. Now they have created image classifier, their own customized image classifier, which is actually getting an image of that text, and then after getting a reading from each word, transcribing it and then translating it into English. So we are getting more past information, how they used to solve the problem and about the history. So it is amazing. That is really fascinating. So I think with this, it's the almost all about TensorFlow, and I think it would have been an illuminating experience for all of you to know about TensorFlow. So
yeah, it was a wonderful experience, and especially the videos. I myself have been working on machine learning and deep learning for the last 1 year, but it was something new for me that even machine learning can solve these sort of complicated problems for us. So your slides and your content, it was amazing.
Thank you.
And Evan, I would like to have Bilal on stage because he's a deep learning guy. So Bilal, what do you think? How was the session?
Yeah, Mohsen and Samya, thank you so much. I just loved the session. It was totally amazing, and there was something very new things which I noticed and learned for the very first time. I haven't witnessed them before, so it was kind of learning platform. If I say from the learning platform and from the implementation platform for myself, it was amazing. I learned a lot.
That's great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have our other fellows as well. So Nima, did you enjoy the session? What do you want to say about the session?
Well, I want to say that today didn't begin really well, but it's ending pretty good. I was really happy with the session. I learned a lot in both TensorFlow and Flutter part. I feel like there is actually so much that we can do after this session. I'm gonna actually come back to it later and watch it again to learn some more stuff.
Yeah,
I'm very happy.
Yes. What about you, Carl? Did you learn a lot of new things from this session?
I learned a lot, and at the same time, I started researching TensorFlow and machine learning, and I discovered that it has a lot of math. So I'm starting to become a little bit hesitant about it because I'm not that perfect in math. But who knows?
Yeah, you just need to have the basic knowledge about the math. Like if you are working on deep learning, there are two famous functions. One of them is called ReLU function and other one is sigmoid. So when you apply these function in the programming, you need to have the mathematical knowledge of these function as well, so that you could understand that what's happening behind the scene, or else you will just think that machine learning is a magic. It's not a magic. It's a little magic plus mathematics plus plus stats and plus a little bit programming. What do you think, Bilal?
Exactly. You just combine those all the necessary things in one place. These are all which are the base of our one single code base of machine learning.
Yeah. So I think now we just have Stephanie. Stephanie was having the internet problem. So is it resolved now, Stephanie? Did you enjoy the session? How was it?
Yeah, it was really interesting, and I think the same as Khaldun, that it's like, oh, you really want to get into like machine learning, but when you see that it has some maths and some logic within, like you kind of hesitate a bit when it comes to that. I do myself, like at first I was like, oh, I don't think I'm going to go into machine learning, but the next semester I will be taking two modules within and two assignments within like machine learning and artificial intelligence. And well, yeah, while it has a lot of logics and a lot of maths, as Mohsin said, you actually have like some computing, you have a lot of theory as well, and it's just really interesting. So it was really interesting to see this workshop and just get more information, especially when it came to all of the different topics here as well. So that was really interesting for me, and I hope that a lot of people also feel like they want to get into machine learning as well, and just not think about like the maths. And while it might be a bit intimidating, like I think we can all do it. And for example, me, I am like, maths is not my strong suit at all, but I even have like two modules right now, one with logics and one with algorithms and structurability, and it was really difficult, but I mean, it is pretty interesting if you really like those things and you really want to continue. So yeah.
Yeah, but there's this thing that I would love to highlight, that the frameworks like TensorFlow, they provide the different level of abstractions. Like if someone is uh, he does not want to go too deep into the deep learning or machine learning, so they have a different level of abstraction for him. He could just simply use the inbuilt data set available on the TensorFlow, and you can use the models there to make your machine learning based applications. And if someone is more interested in machine learning, then the TensorFlow has a different abstraction level for him as well. So I think here TensorFlow uh, has got a plus point, that multiple people from multiple level of knowledge can use it. So I think it's time to say goodbye to our speaker. Samya, you did a wonderful job, and we really got a chance to learn a lot of new and valuable things from you. So thank you so much for your precious time.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
So, guys, I hope you enjoyed the day 2 of Global Tech Fab. Bilhal, can we have you? Can we have your image? Could you please on your cam, so that we could sign off the event and wrap up our day 2 of Global Tech Fab? So I hope that you guys liked whatever we brought for you today. I hope you liked our host and speakers as you did for the day 1. And this is not the end. We still have one day left, and tomorrow we will be talking in different region with different speakers. but same technologies. We will be talking about Flutter, Android, and TensorFlow. So all updates about the day 3 would be shared on our social platforms. So see you guys there on day 3. Till then, take good care of you. Bye bye.
Bye.
See you guys.